going to be a fun one. This device has been an absolute pain in the ass. I've had to essentially replace the micro USB cable because it just keeps cutting out, and I don't know what's going on with it. I mean, I've had this device must be 4 or 5 years now, so it's starting to really irritate me, to be honest. I thought I picked him up. So yeah, I think a replacement device is probably in order this year, I think, to be honest. It's really annoying. I've had fairly good things to say about Igato. Up until now, anyway. Yeah, I only do it for fun though, I suppose, so there is that. But even for fun, when you put like a good 40, 50, maybe an hour, 2 hours into a recording, even if you're just rabbiting on really, and then to find that the device keeps continually cutting out is really irritating. I will say all these back and forth quests and stuff can get kind of annoying. I was sort of hoping we could just get to the building mechanics of everything. I can only hope companies like EA, Activision, Bethesda, 2K, or another one. 2K have done some pretty egregious things. I believe they have. I don't know if it was their latest basketball game or was it something like that. I can't remember. It was a sports game from what I read. They introduced adverts that were unskippable. So yeah, that's sickening isn't the word I would use for that. It's just, you know. And the Google Stadia? However you call it, or is it Stadium or something to that degree? Literally their pricing for their streaming, it ain't cheap. It really ain't cheap. I think this is one of the other things about these types of games, is when there's a lot of dialogue, it can get a bit annoying sometimes. Because you're just, you know, sitting there waiting, you want to do something, you can't really do anything about it. But you could say the same about Zelda, I suppose. I like the way this child is quite calm, given the fact he's been getting orders from his scout. If there's holes in the ship, mate, and there is, and you're sailing, probably means we're gonna sink. Yep. God. Also, the new Ryzen 3000 and the Navi graphics cards have literally released as of, I think it was Monday, or was it Sunday night, something like that. So I think some new parts might be in order. I don't need it, if I'm honest about it, but the Ryzen 3700X or the 3800, they're a bit more pricey. They're about $300 I think they start like £319, 379, and the 12 core is 3900X is £479 in the UK. Kind of tempted, to be honest. I mean, I don't need the upgrade really, if I'm honest about it. I've got, Christ, I'm running a, as I've said in many videos, I'm running a 1700X, first gen, a GTX 1070 Ti, 16 gig of RAM, so I don't really need the upgrade. But I mean, there's a few things, you know. There's a new case. Sort of trying to decide between I've got a Fantex case currently, but I'm trying to decide between a Fantex. I've got a P400S, but I'm trying to decide between a P600S, which has got it's got like a mesh. No, it's got like a fabric mesh with a filter at the front of it. So it'll take 3 fans, and it's just essentially you can, you know, gives your PC a bit more of a nice look, and you can see, so if you put RGB fans in it, it'll look pretty sweet. And the other one, I was also trying to decide between that and the other one, and that's the cheaper one. The other one's the Cooler Master mesh 500, Cooler Master 500 mesh. There's also a P variety, which is tempered is it plastic or glass on the front. I think it's some form of plastic. They've also got a mesh version of that, so that's another one I've been looking at, but that's a little bit more pricey, in like the £150 to £140 range. So yeah, so what's he grinding on about this? It's all, quite frankly, it's all stuff that you don't really need. You can run off on far less hardware. Only games I tend to find are quite demanding are things like Metro and Assassin's Creed. I think that's due to the Assassin's Creed's engine is quite frankly junk. It's not well optimised for any GPU from what I've seen. So. But I'm interested to see with because I've got a Switch, but I've hardly used the bleeding thing. So I've just tried to get back into Zelda, and slowly but surely. But it's just a case of, oh god, what was the point of all that? I can plug that all, mate. But I've only had one game to play on it, and that's been Zelda. I've not found anything else on Switch really that interesting. I don't care about things like Smash Brothers. It's just not something that just interests me, if I'm honest about it. It looks cool, but it's just not, you know. And the one I am interested in, I suppose, is Pokemon, just because of the fact that I haven't played a Pokemon game in a mainstream one in since probably 2000. And that would have been when Gold and Silver came out, and that's the last time I've actually properly played through those types of games. So there's also been a lot of backlash apparently, because the Pokédex doesn't have all, God, was it 1,000 of the bleeding things at this point? It must be, because it was like 900. What are we on, Generation 9? Is it now? Something like that. So it's just like, but as personally, I've never really. I think I might have caught all of them once the whole time I played the games, and I've played the games must be hundreds of times at this point. So I mean, you know, sometimes you know, it's a good idea to moan and bitch about stuff, you know, especially stuff like microtransactions. But when it's something like they're not going to have the whole Pokédex, like, is it really that much of a big deal? I suppose it's maybe for hardcore fans, but as much as I'd like to think of myself as a hardcore gamer, I'm probably more casual these days, to be honest. But I must say, when I was playing through Witcher 3, I wasn't that sure about the combat. As I said in many other videos, the combat, I don't like the combat, I won't play the game, it just puts me off. But I thought Witcher was actually quite a neat control mechanic, although how you play it on keyboard is beyond me, because I started on keyboard and I hated every minute of it. I hated the only thing that was good was the precision of the aiming of the mouse. Other than that, I would much rather play that kind of game with a controller. But some people were the other way. Some people prefer mouse and keyboard. The keyboard to me just felt it just felt so complicated, having to reach across the other keys with your fingers and stuff. It's just there. And I've got a reasonably decent keyboard, but I suppose I'm just more console minded in that way. This is going to be a fun recording, because this will be about the third recording I've attempted to do for this episode. So it's going to be a case of some light editing is going to be required, I think. So is that essentially the whole demo, is it? So that's essentially the whole demo. Can I build anything, or is that essentially it? Let's have a look at that. No? Okay, so it's... That's a bit of a shame, because the demo doesn't really let you really explore a lot or make a lot, to be honest. I was sort of hoping it would give me a bit more to do. The demo on the first game was really, really good. It was... you could build quite a lot. The demo was quite big. I will say, though, that I mean, again, it's nostalgia, I suppose, but demos and things nowadays kind of suck compared to the old days. Like, at the PS1 era, for demos was just awesome. You know, you'd play a demo disc for... Well, I can't speak for other people, for myself. I must have played things like the Metal Gear Solid demo, Ridge Racer, Crash Bandicoot, and all sorts of other games on demo disc. They were awesome because you could... you just play the same game like constantly, and it gave you these sort of... You got a real good idea of what the game was. I mean, how many times did I play through? And I don't even I'm not particularly that fond of Tomb Raider, but I must have played through the Tomb Raider 2, the full game, and the... I'm sure it was on the demo disc, because I imagine it would have been a demo disc on just little things like trapping the butler in the fridge and doing the assault course, and then getting bored with the game and finding it hilarious to throw Lara off a cliff and she would then break her neck. You know, very sadistic things really when you think about it. But you know, just stuff like that. I didn't actually get any further in this one. I did the demo before. This is going to end now, isn't it? This does give me sort of similar vibes of Portal Knights, which I did a video on a year, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And the what else was there? There was something else I was thinking about now. I forgot what it was. Minecraft has, whether you like it, hate it, or love it, like Minecraft's influenced a lot of different stuff. And I can certainly have a certain appreciation for Minecraft, to be honest. I go back to it every now and then and sort of have a little play on it and stuff. I was actually looking back to the whole Ryzen thing, the prices of the processors aren't that bad. They're a little bit more expensive than, I mean, what did I paid 244 when I got my 1700X in, was it 17? Must have been 17. But the new one, I think the equivalent is about, I think it was £319 or 379, something like that. But the motherboards, because they've got PCI Gen 4, your motherboards they're way more expensive. I mean, AMD has always been known as the not, I wouldn't say they're not premium, but they've been known as the more sort of budget conscious sort of buyers. X570 isn't from what I've read, and in the last 3 days I've watched, oh god, it must be 17 million benchmarks on Radeon, Ryzen. Literally, they're sort of saying that, you know, the only difference is going to be, you can, apparently I'm on a B350 board, apparently you can run these newer processors on the older boards with a BIOS update, but they are saying that overclocking, although to be honest with you, the overclocking on Ryzen 3000 isn't particularly tremendous, because once again AMD they've got auto overclocking, so the processors will boost themselves up as far as they can go, depending on what your cooling solution is. So because I'm quite curious to see whether or not about maybe picking up maybe a X470 board. I've seen them for about £126, and some are even lower than that. So and what I've read, the Gen 4 PCIe is essentially, it's more to do with things like faster read and write speeds on your hard drives and SSDs and stuff. So it's stuff that normal people wouldn't really necessarily take advantage of unless you're, and if I'm correct in thinking this, writing and reading on your hard drive and stuff. So there is that. But I mean, it's interesting nonetheless. And these new, I mean, I want to see what the Navi third-party companies come up with for Navi, because AMD have gone blower style with their new cards, and to be honest with you, the blower styles, they do kick out a lot of heat. And of course they dropped the prices as well, so which was even better, because they were a little bit on the pricier side. And then Nvidia, being Nvidia, and I'm on Nvidia card, but even I have to say that they do have some pretty maybe you could call it scummy, I don't know. Their practices are questionable, I guess you could say. Not necessarily, well, some, you know, I suppose it's dependent on what you prefer, I suppose, because I've only had about a 2070, RTX 2070 and 2060, but the 2060 is maybe 10-15 frames faster than this current card I'm on. But yeah, I've got ray tracing. Ray tracing is, I don't know, it just, for the performance hit you're taking, for better reflections and more realistic lighting, it's cool, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess it's dependent on the person, I suppose, whether you're interested in that sort of thing or not. But yeah, the Navi cards don't have ray tracing, but the super cards they've just released, which is literally, they've got the RTX 2060, RTX 2060 Super, which is essentially almost as fast as an RTX 2070, and now they've released an RTX 2070 Super, which is essentially like the 1070 Ti to the 1070. It's literally almost the 1080, that literally with, you know, because it's on the same die, from what I understand. So Nvidia have slotted all the gaps, but the Radeon 5700 and the Radeon 5700 XT, both these cards, the XT isn't that far behind the RTX 2070 Super. So it's getting a bit complicated to say that in the GP market, but at least you've got competition. But blower coolers I'm not that keen on. They do kick a lot. I think the benchmarks I watched, it was about 70 degrees, I think, which is, it's not hot, I suppose, but it's a wee bit, it's hotter than I would prefer, personally. But it sort of depends, I guess, what you're into. So I'm a mixture of consoles and PCs. Probably, I go through waves with this sort of stuff. Like one minute I'm more interested in my PC, like at the moment, because as much as I like my consoles, I don't tend to game on them that much. Apart from unless I see something that that I think is really, really cool or interesting. Also, when I did some, was playing The Witcher, I managed to get lost, which was always fun. But the graphics on that game are tremendous. I mean, to be honest, for the graphics card I've got, I really should have got a 1440p monitor, but just budget, I suppose. Because I mean, I'm playing at about anywhere between 90 to about 105, 110 frames a second, so it's buttery smooth. Got no complaints there. But they also said that Xbox is apparently going for the refresh rates now, apparently. So that should be very interesting to see gaming on like 120 Hz or 144 Hz. It should be quite interesting to see, because it's all based on AMD graphics chips, from what I understand. So there's a lot of interesting things coming up. It's about time, though. They were saying that it was always either one was always faster, the GPU was faster, and then the CPU was always slower. So to have a nice balance of this sort of stuff, you're gonna have less complaining about 30 frames a second and stuff. I mean, I don't even know. This is locked to that, but yeah. Anyway, that's my rant on microtransactions. EA used to be a good company when I was a kid. They were really good. They had I mean, Christ, if you really want, EA's whole focus is essentially sports games and nothing more than sports games. But you know, Road Rash, Desert Strike, all that kind of stuff. Really, there's loads of stuff. Need to eat some stuff. That's right, mate, you eat some seaweed. Okay, I think I've got enough resources at this point. I did a video about 4 or 5 years ago, which was E.T. and I mean, the views I get on my channel are nothing spectacular, but I'm very grateful for what I get. But like, literally, that video did like one of probably the best videos I've ever done in terms of the viewership it got. I was quite surprised. If anyone can tell me why that got so many hits, because I don't imagine my commentary was any more entertaining in that one than this one or any other video I've done since. But I got a lot of views. I mean, I know it's quite an obscure game, and it was at the time when it was actually my sister had a rebranded PS1. I must have got it about 2000 or something, but it was literally the rebranded PS1, so it was that little white unit that was really, really small. Okay, let's get back to... Pay a bit more attention to the actual thing, I suppose. love to know people that play the same game all the time, like Minecraft, things like World of Warcraft and stuff. Like, they must save so much money. It must be unreal. Because I've tried World of Warcraft. And I just find the game to be. I just find the gameplay, especially the appearance of it as a game, like the cutscenes, as I said in the previous video, they look amazing. But the actual gameplay itself, just it just seems to all be about DPS all the time, and literally, it doesn't look that much fun. I've tried a few times to sort of push myself to play it, but I don't know. I'll wait, because I think Diablo. They're talking about Diablo 4. Apparently, it's going to drop soon, and also apparently Diablo, the mobile game that got so much love, is it Immortal? That's finished apparently, according to one of the YouTubers. I think it's Heel versus Face, and literally that apparently is finished, but they haven't released it. I wonder why. Maybe because of the feedback they got, and they deserve that feedback. Quite frankly, there were a lot of people, especially in the industry, like journalists themselves, saying, "Oh, it's terrible to be like that." Terrible. I was like, well, no, it's a mobile game. If you've got mobile games, then fair enough. But I mean, personally, I won't play it, and I've just got a nice new fancy phone as well. Just got an S10 Plus. Just my contract on my S7 is just about up, so I got that. And I gotta say, yeah, it's amazing. The screen's so crisp and clear, bleeding delicate. That's why I've got a case that was designed by the fucking RoboCop engineers, because it's so delicate, and that's all covered up, and hopefully it'll survive the 2-year period I have it for. But yeah, I gotta say, I still wouldn't game on it. The touch screen's not. It's precise, don't get me wrong, but it's not precise enough for gaming. Not anything that requires actual complex controls and precision. My God, yeah, I've build some beds. Yeah, okay, I'll do all that, but just let me actually do it. That's the one thing I don't like about this game, is the consistent dialogue. I just want to get on and do stuff. I understand it's part of the game and explains how to do stuff, but it's just kind of annoying. You just want to start and do stuff, not stand around being told what you can do and what you can't. Oh, get to the point. Yes, I can do it. Oh. Okay, thank you. Right, let's do this. Okay, so does she want... I do like this though, I've got to say. I've got an appreciation for these kind of games. They're very, very creative. If it actually let me play the game. God, shut up. Just let me play. Oh my God. It's worse than that. Oh, would you? I'm not going to swear. Just go away. Yep, I'll try. What are you standing on the table for? Get off the table. Thank you. Right, bugger off. Okay. Does she actually want me to... Oh, yeah, we've got wood here. Let's use that. Okay. There's only 2 blocks high, lady. It's not quite safe yet. Okay.